3d6 down the line.
That was fun, man.
It's so fun. Different than Ardenville, though. Boy, like I'm having a moment of like,
you got to reintroduce the whimsy into your life, baby.
I could use a little whimsy.
I know.
This is the guy who immediately started smashing cats with a hammer.
Well, they were asking for it, right? They were.
I tried to whimsically eat something, all right, and I have a 6 intelligence. I don't know what everyone's griping about. Do you want me to just play the same character every time? Is that what you want from me, Ted?
Wow.
That'll learn you.
No.
I gotta say, I really enjoy the character generation in this game because there's just so many fun choices there. Although, in no circumstances should Matt ever be given a character that talks slowly. I can't handle it.
You're just going to listen to me at 1.5.
I did very much enjoy it, but it is funny. Within the context of doing like a smaller module, slow talk is definitely a contrarian thing to roll. But no, I mean, God, I've waxed on endlessly to you guys about this, but we were even talking about this morning just in terms of rolling randomly about characters. It's like my favorite thing to do. Not exclusive to Dolmenwood, but I don't know. Did you guys have fun? I mean, before I like soapbox about it, did you enjoy it? Did you feel like it was spontaneous and exciting to do?
I love it, man. There's so many great hooks in those random tables on the characters. Just like great hooks. And I think I didn't experience all the ones for the human. I rolled up like a backup character that was an elf, and all the charts on there, it just feels so like folklore. It just feels so folklore, and it's great. It's like it feels like something like Neil Gaiman or Dr. Strange or Mr. Norrell or I
really definitely get the legend reference. I think it's mentioned as well. But yeah, no, of course. I mean, what you're experiencing, right? Like, let's suppose, though he hasn't, there's no like lore writing at all in the game proper, in the book proper. If all you had is those tables, and the specifics of each table was contextual to your kindred, it would evoke such a specific world out of the gate, and this is what I love, amongst many other things about randomization, that it does the storytelling. It primes you immediately to the tone of the world, to the sort of like parameters of who your like character might be, so the pathos they might bring into that, et cetera, how they might respond to the world, and also just fun stuff, right? Like,
you immediately look at these charts and you're like, oh, that's definitely a guy that I want to play. Right. Like, you just roll randomly through it. Like, it's not just that they're like, interesting and kind of cool, but the quirks are good ones in terms that you can like, get in there and do stuff with them. Right. Yes.
Yeah. And I think like fallibility is, maybe that's not the word I'm looking for, but like we talk about like playing mooks a lot in OSR and like the fun of playing a mook instead of a heroic character. But I also think like the tendency within a system where you are fully authoring your character, which isn't a bad thing, right? I'm not criticizing that per se, but like, is to be additive in the way that you describe your character. It's very uncommon, in other words, for people to describe themselves in flawed ways, right? Or if they do, it's kind of like a couched flaw. It's like, oh, I'm brooding though, right? To be like pockmarked, or to be just like hideous, or whether it be physical or intellectual, or your speech pattern. Like mine's circuitous, yours is like slow and droning. Like whether you as a player take that up and like move through the campaign with it or not, it is so useful to you as a springboard, not just in its specificity, but in a in the sense that it like
inspires.
It's not just yes, absolutely, but also that it like disabuses yourself. You have the ego of it in a little bit, right? Like, and I think what's really important at the beginning of like any role playing game, especially if you're a newbie, but even if you're not, is that everyone is sort of at an equal playing field and is sort of like brought into it together in a way that's unpretentious, that's maybe a little comedic at times, right, without being too camp. And like what that does is it psychologically primes you for creativity, period. Like you are already in a place where you're like, this is play. And like play is going to be creative. And I don't have to be an expert. I don't have to be like Mr. Smart. I don't have to be Mr. Like expert writer, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have the best character. That like edge is taken away from it in a way that even if it isn't specific to your character, I'm soapboxing obviously, but I think it's really conducive to just like the emotional starting point that a party can be at, right? I
don't know how I'm going to play a subtly threatening childlike character.
The never-ending story is all you need.
I can think of some things that such a character might say, but I'm not sure I can say them with a straight face on camera.
Well, sometimes like the no good.
No, go ahead.
Nothing. I'm done.
Well, one of the things that
didn't say anything.
Sure. Like one of the things that is neat about this system is that it is very precarious for all of these people, right? Like we are deathly afraid of spoons. Like literally, spoons can kill us. Spoons almost kill Ted. Spoons will kill me if I roll poorly or if they roll well as I cross that kitchen. Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that, with this random character generation, you don't have to worry about your special, character because you've got a zillion random special characters, right? Like it kind of primes the pump with all of these great guys that are just kind of in line waiting for you to roll them up, and they're all going to be wacky and cool. It almost kind of puts you in a place where you're so curious about what the next thing is going to be that you roll up that it lessens the blow quite a bit if you do lose one of these guys, right? Yeah, it's not somebody it's not somebody that you invested all this backstory in or whatever. You just rolled some numbers and you got a really cool guy, but there's really cool guys waiting to come up.
Kind of riffing off of what David said, like, left up to my own defenses and playing like a different system, right? I have a type. My characters are all like the serious guy, and I'm this, like they're like this, and here you come into Dolmenwood, and it's like I have a misshapen head, I have a narrow face, I have a miserly demeanor. It's like so many hooks to get out of your comfort level of playing John Wick every single time, and then just being something that's like, I can just lean into the fact that I am a pathetically weak friar that's just like, eek, when spoons are flying by, and that's okay, and that's fun. It's the whimsy of it, and I think that's what I love about Dolmenwood so much.
I like the fact that like we came into a room full of caterpillars that were eating, and just by speaking to them, they start to purr. And the manticore comes over the banister, and the first thing he's not saying is, "I will now eat you." It's like, hey, what are you doing in my house? You should behave yourselves. Like that.
Waistcoat.
He's got a waistcoat on. I like it's kind of an OSE, OSR thing anyway, right? To like, we don't solve every problem with the mace. We talk our way through. We think our way through. And we come into this room, and there's this. I've killed Mike. There's this setting in front of us, and this isn't a rules thing. This is like a design of the adventures, and using the adventure setup to kind of maintain that lore and whimsy and the mushrooms and mosslings and things. And you've got setups where they really are, kind of stick with the lore, be polite to the fairy creatures, and ask permission, and tread lightly, in the realm of dreams and these sorts of things. And I'm stumped by a door in a kitchen, but suffice to say, I think there's a thing. We're going to figure the thing out, and we're going to walk through the door. And it's not just like, as much as I love it, Ardenville, like where we're picking locks and cracking open doors with crowbars, and it's, treasure acquisition and advance by the numbers and watch your six. It's making my brain hurt, but we're thinking we're going to use our brains in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I will say, in slight, not contradiction, but I want to stick on the word lore and what you were describing.
Okay.
Which isn't to say that there isn't a lot of like great storytelling going on and world building going on. Obviously there is. But I think something that's going on that's very interesting, even within the character creation process, right? Look at the kind of beliefs that you rolled. How many of them were in short about, that's like very Rashomon, like having a belief that is contrary to or suspicious of the lore, the world state, right? The author of the space. Now, whether or not that suspicion is correct or not, what's happening immediately, right, which ties into the folkloric aspect of this, right, is a suggestion of a mutability, right, a flexibility, which is very consistent with how you might play a game as well, within that space, right? It is saying, yes, this is what I'm presenting to you, but, and the but carries everything. This is my bias, but I think the but carries everything, right?
I bet does.
The butt can carry quite a bit.
I know. But I really do. And perhaps I'm projecting a lot here, but I really think that's significant here because it's very compelling. Yeah. It's very compelling, especially in a lot of modern games and another sort of like systems of writing to see everything as dogma and like to play to it. And to bring it back to the randomization thing, what we're doing is disabusing ourselves of that. Like even if, again, this is an opinion, not a fact, but even if we roll these characteristics, it's within our capability to ignore some of them. Like, in other words, like you're not beholden to engage with every single one of them. But what it is it's like, here's a toolkit. What do you like?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's really awesome.
I do want to say when I said lore, I didn't mean the lore of Dolmenwood per se. I meant like our, as Western, you know, European type people, our understanding of like elves and fairies and with the fairy tales and I think we've talked about this before, Absolutely. But like, you know, you ask permission of the fairies before you enter, or you don't eat the food, you know, so I felt a little weird about drinking that cooking wine. Might have been a bad idea, but we'd already gotten the sense that this is dream food and it's not going to affect us. We're not really in fairy, et cetera, et cetera. I wasn't, when I said lore, I wasn't talking about like, say, you know, the Cold Prince or the witches or something like that. But yeah, it is mutable for sure. And we can.
I get your meaning. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of the other things I just wanted to mention was like, I really like having gone through, and I'll be real honest, I got the player's guide through the Kickstarter like weeks ago and only started looking at it like in the last week. The kindred and the classes I think are just super cool and super not to type, and like I really wanted to play a Bregel. Like I was like, but I also wanted to play a human because I want to be the one normal dude in like a group of like a traveling circus of like weirdos. But I just like the races are all you're a weirdo, but the races are like just really well done. Kindred are really well done, and I love that like some of the coolest classes out there are like not the fighter, cleric, magic user. You know, like the traditional 4, there's like plays on all of these guys that I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to turn out too.
For sure.
Yep.
I'm very excited about magic. Using the glamour to create treats. It didn't quite work out the way I wanted, but it was still cool to flourish my hands and make tuna appear for cats. How useful is that? That's awesome. I wish my cats would love that. And the pre-rolled spell books was that, you know, that's a keeper of an idea, John. That is a thing that any campaign could adopt. Like, for example, you know, in my homebrew, I've got a couple of different colleges of magic. I could roll up different spell books that you could start with based on your college of magic, and that would be a flavor thing that would just make character creation 10 times easier and add flavor. So I love that concept. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. I'm sure that a lot of once a third party Dolmenwood license rolls out, that I'm sure we're going to see a supplement that's just someone creating like a document just full of spell books. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I did notice that, and I assume this is by design. A lot of because of the randomization, like there were 20 glamours, not 22 or 24 glamours, or 20 glamours. So you could roll it randomly, and there was a lot of things that was easy to roll randomly. And I I don't know what the concept's going to be on, say, well, we want to add new spells at some point, like, or new glamours that screws up your random rolling. I don't know if you have thoughts about that, but it looked very intentional, at least for this
It sure seems like it. I would assume it is, yeah.
It's also not done. Let's like just remember that it's not done. I mean, Gavin might have like 15 more spells that he's going to add or like whatever. But I think that even if that's the case, you probably make your own charts for that stuff. It wouldn't be that onerous to do.
Yeah.